What's up guys, Subzeroark here, finally doing a deck profile of my highly anticipated Blaster Lavals. Kinda just threw this deck together one day when I was like, hey, Blaster's a pretty cool card. Back when I was thinking that the Elemental Dragons would be used just to synergize with their attributes. But, you know, now of course they've turned into something so much bigger that's its own deck that's destroying everything in its path. And of course the deck is OCG, it's supposed to come out after Tachyon, of course. Now, these little baby dragons are all but confirmed, pretty much, for the TCG, so you'll probably be safe running them if you know, Konami comes to their senses somehow and doesn't make them, doesn't release them. You could run, like, gold Sarkos in their place, an extra level Lancelord, maybe little Forest Sprite. Those are all cards that I sort of tossed around in the early versions of the deck, but I didn't end up liking too much. But you could be running if you don't get the baby dragon. The baby dragon does help out a lot with the deck's plays, but it's definitely not needed. Anyway, what this deck does essentially is it just goes off really crazy, gets a ton of stuff. The standard play is to Molten Conduction Field, send a Cannoner and a Handmaiden. Handmaiden effect sends another Handmaiden. Handmaiden effect sends another Handmaiden. That Handmaiden sends another Cannoner, and if you have Rekindling, Molten Conduction Field, and a Volcanic Shell in your hand, and that Volcanic Shell can also be a Foolish Burial, because you Foolish Bury the Volcanic Shell, pay 500, add that to your hand. Then you can make a Quasar, which is kind of crazy. And yeah, this deck just explodes in synchros, and it's kind of not the best thing to do, to be synchroing a lot right now because of Eva Swarm, but it's still a fun thing to do, and you can Blaster. God, I should have just said Blaster, but I was thinking like Burner? Is it Burner? No, of course not, you idiot. It's Blaster. So yeah, you can just Blaster away that Ophion if they don't have the Forbidden Dress, because if you don't know Blaster, you can send him and a fire monster to the graveyard to target a card in the field and destroy it. But before I get into any of that, I'll just go into the deck. So we got our Blasters. This guy, if he's in your hand or grave, you can banish 2 fires and special summon him. During your opponent's end phase, he goes back to your hand, and if he's banished at any time, you can add a fire monster from your deck to your hand. I've kind of been skipping over the dragon part, mostly because everything in this deck's fire, so that's all you really care about. This guy's great for making plays. He can make great synchro plays with Handmaiden, who's a tuner, a level 1, and him, who's a level 7. So, you can make very easy Stardusts and flashing, it used to be called Flashing Character Dragon, now it's Stardust Radiance Dragon. There's a ton of great level 8s you can make. You can also tweak around this extra depending on how you like it. I've barely ever gone to this Radiance Dragon, but it's nice to have. This guy also helps with dealing a lot of damage. I barely ever use this effect to pop, but when I do, it's, to get rid of a problem card. There's a lot of stuff that you could use this guy to pop. Eva Swarm Ophion is the one I brought up, and that's the big one because he, Pandemic stops him from being destroyed by spell and traps, but Blaster's effect is a monster effect, obviously, so you can get rid of him that way. And, 2100 beater, 2800 beater, so he can hit really hard. Then his little smaller form, the Burner Elemental Dragon of Fire, you can discard him and a fire monster is a special blaster from your deck. It can't attack that turn, so it doesn't let you get damage in, but if you can get like a special blaster with his own effect, then discard a Burner, you can have 2 blasters on board, and you can't exceed because that's dumb, so I don't know why I brought that up, but what you want to do usually is discard Burner and something else, and then get the Handmaiden and Synchro, because, the Synchro monster can attack, of course, because it's a new monster, and you've taken your blaster, which couldn't attack, and turned it into maybe a Thought Ruler, which is 100 less attack, but definitely hits harder than something that can't attack for the turn, or a Scrap Dragon, which is the same attack. So, a very cool card. Level Cannon, this card is amazing. It can usually in itself be a level 5 or level 7 Synchro. When it's normal or flip summoned, you get one of your banished lava monsters and special summon it. That is usually going to be a Handmaiden or a Lakeside Lady. If it's a Handmaiden, you can get yourself a Librarian or a Catastor, both very good. And if it is a Lakeside Lady, you can get yourself a Black Rose, a Scrap Arc Fiend or Lavals, which is an amazing synchro that I don't usually take advantage of, just because I can deal more damage with other stuff, and you know, it's great though. It's pretty good. Also, thing to note about Lavals, just get that out of the way quick. When you synchro summon, send one card from your hand to the graveyard. That is an effect, so don't think like, oh god, when he synchro summon, I won't be able to pay the cost for synchro summoning him. No, okay, that is an effect. So if you have no cards in hand, you just don't discard. Next card is Laval Lakeside Lady. This card, if you have 3 or more Laval monsters with different names in your graveyard, which is almost all the time, you can banish him and another Laval monster to pop a set card. That can be a set monster or a set spell and trap. This card is one of your biggest methods of getting stuff banished, like sending Handmaiden and Lakeside Lady and then banishing to pop a back row. It's nice for popping back row when you don't have your MSTs. And it is a level 3 tuner, so that opens up great plays for level 7s, and maybe if you're crazy, you could do something else with it. I don't really know. You know, I don't have any 2s in this deck, but maybe. You know, Volcanic Shell in that makes an Armory Arm. If you want to run that, I would never make that play, because it's just awful, and I wouldn't want to have Shell and Lady in the field at the same time, and if they were, I'd be wanting to make some crazy synchro play, not a freaking Armory Arm. But if you want to, the option's available. Next we got this Level Lancelord. This is just another thing that allows you to get out different synchros, and makes it really easy 7s. You can normal summon without attributing, and it is a target for rekindling, so that's cool. Give you a second to read rekindling. Oh my god, I can't speak. Give you a second to read rekindling if you haven't read it yet. I'll get to it. It'll be my last card, despite the fact that it's the most integral part of the deck, so this is just organized badly. Lawful Magma Cannoner. You need 3 of it for the Quasar play, and it's an interesting card overall because it can let you dump cards from your hand to the graveyard. It's got a nice attack, and it's 200, so, you know, it's very good for getting back with rekindling, get it back and a Handmaiden to make a 5, or, you know, get it back and a Lakeside Lady to make a 7. Level Volcano Handmaiden. I've been talking about this so much. If it's sent to the graveyard, if you have a Laval monster other than it, you can send a Laval from your deck to the graveyard, which is usually another Handmaiden, which sends another Handmaiden, which sends what you really want to send. And that loads up your graveyard with 5 Lavals, which is really nice. Thing you guys need to know about this card: if she's sent to grave for cost, you unactivate, because she is a when you can card effect. So she will miss timing, so you can't discard her with Cannoner and get her effect. The only options for you to send her to the graveyard and get her effect are Foolish Burial and Molten Conduction Field. Also, of course, you know, if it's destroyed by battle or something like that, that's another way to get it in the graveyard. Next card is Pyrorex, the Elemental Lord. I run 2 of them because they're so good. If they're exactly 5... Oh my god. I do not have time for you. But yes. If there are exactly 5 fire monsters in your graveyard, you can special summon him. When you special summon, he has sort of a Ring of Destruction effect, where you pop one monster your opponent controls, and you both take damage equal to half its original attack. Huge beater. But if it is removed from the field, you skip your next battle phase. Now, that's not to say if you're going during the turn, and it gets removed while you're doing all your stuff, it's the next turn's battle phase, so you can still like attack and win the turn this guy gets removed from the field if you haven't attacked yet. So that's something to keep in mind if you just want to keep going even after your Pyrorex is gone. This card is really easy to make because this card, Molten Conduction Field, it's an easy him, because Molten Conduction Field sends this and this, which sends this, which sends this, which sends this, and that's 5, which is crazy. It's just so easy to bring out in this deck. The amount of graveyard you can have... Oh my god. The amount of graveyard control you have with this deck is insane as well. With Lakeside Lady and Blaster, it's amazing. You can just get this card out so easily. And my last 2 cards of the deck are Volcanic Shell. This card is basically here for, you know, an extra level, maybe for a Lancelord, him, and a Handmaiden. The main reason he's here is because I need a level 1 non-tuner to make Shooting Quasar Dragon, so that's the main reason he's there. Now on to the spells. I have 3 DDR. This card is very interesting with the deck because it just lets you, it gives you another avenue to get stuff that's banished. Pretty much you can discard stuff, banish a Lakeside Lady and a Handmaiden to pop a card, then summon the Cannoneer. It's Cannoneer. Then activate DDR, discard a card, then, get a Lakeside Lady or a Handmaiden, whatever the situation calls for, and you can just keep making plays with this card. You can draw into it, when you go into your Formula Synchron and draw 2 with his effect and Librarian's effect, and then you banish stuff to get Blaster. A really nice play is to banish a Handmaiden to get Blaster, and then activate this, get the Handmaiden, sync with Blaster. So nice. But yeah, it's a really great card. You can make tons of plays with the deck. Dark-Hole, Heavy Storm, and Reborn are staples. Foolish Burial is another card to set off this Handmaiden, a card to get 1 extra, if you have 4 Lavals, you just get 1 more for Pyrorex. You can send a Blaster so you can get his effect. You can send the Shell so you can pay 500 and get 1 to your hand. This card does so much in the deck, it's crazy. You can send a Lakeside Lady so you can banish in something else. It can turn into an MST, it can turn into everything. Next we have the Molten Conduction Field. It is one of the better sort of broken cards in the deck because it fills your graveyard so easily. Send, of course, I've told you, Cannoneer and Handmaiden is usually your play. If you don't want to make a Quasar, Cannoneer and Handmaiden's usually still good. You can go like Cannoneer, Handmaiden, Handmaiden, and then get a Lakeside Lady. So then you can banish that and a Handmaiden to pop something, so left 3 engraved, which is still good, and you can do other stuff, and it gets you banished stuff, so it's a good starting play. So this card just lets you ditch whatever you want. It's usually 3 Handmaidens and a Cannoneer and maybe another Cannoneer, Lakeside Lady, Lancelord if you want to, maybe, whatever really. So many plays you can make with it. Triple MST just for backer removal, you don't want them stopping your OTKs. Pot of Duality for extra consistency. It's not really, it slows you down because it stops you from, going off that turn, but I just prefer it because it lets you get exactly what you want, and if you don't have that Conduction Field or that Rekindling, it can get you that very easily. And the last card in the main deck is the Rekindling. This card is straight up broken. It can be 5 Monster Reborns in 1, but special summon as many, from your graveyard, as many fire monsters as possible with less than 200 defense. 200 defense, exactly. I don't know why I said less than 200. During the end phase, banish all monsters that was special summoned by this effect. That, of course, does not matter, because you're going to be synchroing with all of them if you're good, if you've activated this in the correct situation, and oh my goodness. If you don't know, the Quasar play, Quasar needs a Tuner Synchro monster, which is your Formula Synchron, and, where are you? 2 or more non-Tuner Synchro monsters, which usually ends up being the Catastor and the Librarian. Could also be the Lavals Dragon or the Lavals Dual Slasher. But the play is Conduction Field, since Cannoneer, then your 3 Handmaidens, and then another Cannoneer. Then your Rekindling. Rekindling gets all of those back. You Synchro Handmaiden and Cannoneer to get you a Librarian. Then you Synchro another Handmaiden and another Cannoneer to get you your, level 5, let's say Dual Slasher. You draw 1 so far. Then you summon your Volcanic Shell, Synchro that with the last Handmaiden, get your Formula Synchron, draw 2 so far, so you've drawn 3 cards already from Librarian, and then you Synchro all of them for shooting Quasar. And Quasar is, usually a game ender. It's very hard to beat him, and even when he leaves the field, you get a Shooting Star Dragon from your deck, so that's kind of crazy. Yeah, Quasar can usually decide the fate of the duel, and a 3-card Quasar is just insane. Now I'll move on to the extra deck. We have 1 Catastor for level 5. I'll just go through the levels, I guess. So, sort of, Formula Synchron is our only level 2. That's the only level 2, and it's the only one you need. Then your Catastor, your Dual Slasher. It's a pretty interesting card. I usually don't end up using its effect just because I end up, using it as sort of a ladder to synchro with other cards. But if your opponent's playing defensive, you can use it to rip through their defenses, which is pretty cool. Lavals Dragon. Don't use it often as well, but it's sort of recycles your Lavals and returns other stuff to the hand, so you can get rid of Xyz and all sorts of other varieties of that. And GG Hyper Librarian, my last level 5. When a monster is synchro summoned, draw 1 card. And oh my god, so many times I've forgotten that this includes my opponent's synchro monsters. Always remember that. So if they synchro, draw a card, you know? It's an extra +1 that you really can't, not draw, or you can't forget to draw, because this deck is, the more cards the better, and there's so many cards in this deck that, like, if you randomly out of the blue draw a DDR, that opens up so many more plays. Draw a Blast, or draw a Burn, or draw a Rekindling, that extra draw can decide the game for you, so don't forget that. I don't think I run any 6s because it's impossible to make them with this deck, unless I want to go Burner and Lakeside Lady, and really no one would make that play, it's just kind of dumb. My 7s are Black Rose, pretty standard, blows up the entire field if you want to. When it's summoned, Lavals Stenin. When he is synchroed, you send 1 card from your hand to graveyard. Then, during either player's turn, if he's targeted by a card effect, you can banish a Laval monster from your graveyard to negate it, which is really crazy. So, they have to Torrential or Dark Hole. Mirror Force. Sadly, Bottomless does not target, so he can definitely get Bottomless, but, he stops the D prisons, he stops a lot of destruction cards, so he's a pretty good card. He gives himself a little extra protection, not too much, but it's definitely something, and he's a nice beater. You have Scrap Arcfiend. I just like him because he's a big beater, and if I don't want to discard, if I have an extra card in my hand that I really want to use, then I'll go to my Scrap Arcfiend. That's the end of level 7s. Now to the 8s. We have our Scrap Dragon, following up to that Scrap Arcfiend. Great card. Pop a card on your field, pop a card on their field. You don't get his other effect, which is to get a Scrap monster from your graveyard. He's also a 2800 beater. This guy can be a game closer if you just set your MST and then use his effect to pop the only monster from your opponent's side of the field and then swing for game. Really good card. Stardust Dragon, the most standard synchro in the game, I guess. Stardust Radiance Dragon. During either player's turn, you can target a face-up card you control, and that card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Now, of course, you can target himself, so yeah, that's kind of crazy, and oh my god, I timed out because I haven't done one of these in a long time, and so I just didn't think, I have to always click that so that I don't run out. Anyway, Radiance Dragon really good at walling himself up. Of course, it might be smart to run something like a Red Dragon Archfiend to swing over stuff if your opponent goes into the dreaded Trifortriceratops, which is just an awful card. I'll go over that in another video, but it's just bad. It's alright, okay? I'm not gonna say just bad. It's alright. And then Thought Ruler Archfiend, because I really like this card. It's a really fun level 8. You can gain more life points when you destroy your opponent's monster, and if your opponent targets him, just like Stenin, gosh, you can pay 1,000 life points to negate it. So you don't have any other psychics, so he's not gonna, protect your other psychics, but he protects himself, which is really nice. I don't run a Mistworm of any sorts. Then onto my 10s. Allied Justice Decisive Armor. I love this card. He's just a big beater. It was really big back in the day when, Lightsworn were a thing. This card was like the anti-meta synchro. You just play it and you'd win, but much less relevant his effects now. You just summon him for the crazy attack and defense. Then I'm pretty sure Shooting Star Dragon, yep, he's a 10. You have to use Formula Synchron plus Stardust Dragon to make him. He's a very cool card. And usually you won't want to use his first effect, because this deck only has 6 tuners in it, and just think, you'll probably think oh, okay, I can just reveal the top 5 cards in my deck, and if I don't reveal a tuner, it's fine, at least, I don't get extra attacks. But no, because you reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, you don't reveal any tuners, you don't get any attacks, which is annoying. Yeah. And you can also negate a card that would destroy a card like Stardust, and when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can remove that monster in this card from play, and then during the N5 special summon the card, and this card. So it's an interesting card that sort of just stops the battle and says no thank you. And then the last card in the extra deck is the Shooting Quasar Dragon. I told you about this card. It's crazy, pretty easy to bring out with the deck, and is a game winner. Anyway, that has been the deck profile, guys. I know I've been, I don't know, I'm sort of tired, but aside from my stutterings, I think I've explained the deck very well. Timed out, yeah, I'm such a noob, god. But I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope you guys playtest this deck. It may not be the most competitive. I mean, it's very competitive, it's very fun to play, but there are definitely decks, E-Dragons is more explosive than this, so if you're looking for something extremely explosive, I'd run to that, but if you want to play something fun that can get out Quasar, then this is definitely the deck for you. Anyways, this has been it, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching, and yeah, goodbye.